Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to uncover a hidden design secret that is literally all around us. We'll be looking at an invisible force that shapes how we interact with technology, heavy machinery, and honestly, even our own kitchens. It's this incredibly fascinating concept that bridges the gap between everyday common sense and complex industrial engineering. So, let's jump right in. Right off the bat, let's talk about a universal problem. Picture this. You go to send a super important email, you hit send, and immediately get that little pop-up reminding you that you completely forgot the attachment. Or you're trying to plug in a USB cable, and you flip it, then flip it again, and maybe flip it a third time before it actually goes in. Look, these little moments highlight a pretty basic truth. Human error is just inevitable. We get tired, we get distracted, we rush. Our brains simply aren't wired to be 100% flawless all the time. But here's the kicker. While human error is always going to be part of the equation, defective products and disastrous outcomes absolutely do not have to be. It's one thing to get annoyed by a stubborn USB cable, right? But scale that up to a massive industrial reality. Imagine a production line making airplane engines or medical devices. In those high-stakes environments, one tiny little human slip-up can trigger a devastating chain reaction, costing millions of dollars or, even worse, endangering lives. We basically need a system that just assumes we're going to mess up and actively steps in to catch us when we do. Section 1. What is Poka-Yoke? The philosophy of mistake-proofing. This philosophy is the invisible hero of both our daily routines and global manufacturing. The term is Poka-Yoke, and the etymology here is really cool. It's a Japanese phrase where poka basically translates to an inadvertent error. You know, an accidental oversight when you're just not paying full attention. And yokeru means to avoid or prevent. Put them together and you get error-proofing. Simply put, a Poka-Yoke is literally any mechanism, rule, or design feature that physically or logically stops a simple human error from turning into a full-blown defect. It's designed to make doing the wrong thing practically impossible. To really wrap our heads around this, you don't even need to step foot in a factory. Just look around your house. Let's take 3 brilliant everyday examples. First up, your microwave. The second you yank that door open mid-cycle, it instantly cuts off the power. That is a sequential Poka-Yoke keeping you safe. Or how about a mobile phone SIM card? Notice how it has that one little diagonally cut corner? That asymmetrical shape physically stops you from jamming the card in backward. And, of course, the modern USB-C connector. It's perfectly symmetrical, meaning it completely eliminates that old frustration of plugging it in upside down. These designs are actively, physically preventing us from making a mistake. Section 2. The origin at Toyota, Shigeo Shingo's revolution. So while everyday UX designers love Poka-Yoke today, the concept actually dates back to the 1960s, straight out of the Japanese automotive industry. It was pioneered by an industrial engineer named Shigeo Shingo, who was one of the masterminds behind the famous Toyota production system. Shingo came up with this while trying to fix a massive quality issue at a Toyota plant. The workers there were manually putting together these electrical switches that needed 2 tiny little springs. The assembly line was fast, the work was super repetitive, and people just kept forgetting to insert one of the springs. Now, instead of just yelling at the workers to pay closer attention, Shingo did something brilliant. He completely redesigned the workflow. Step 1, he placed a small, simple tray right in front of the worker. Step 2, before starting, the worker takes exactly 2 springs and puts them in the tray. Step 3, they assemble the switch. If they finish and there's a spring left sitting in that tray, they instantly know they made a mistake. It was genius because it didn't require extra quality inspectors. The process literally audited itself. And that story hits the nail on the head regarding Shingo's core belief. He famously stated that the responsibility for mistakes lies within the system design rather than the people. Fun fact, he originally called his technique Poka-Yoke, which basically translates to foolproofing. But he actually changed it pretty quickly to Poka-Yoke, or mistake-proofing, because he wanted to respect and dignify the operators. He realized you don't achieve 0 defects by blaming your team. You achieve it by backing them up with infallible processes. Section 3. From everyday to industry, scaling up mistake-proofing. Okay, so how do we take the simple logic of a spring tray or a microwave door and scale it up for heavy industry? Well, it's actually the exact same logic. Think about that everyday microwave safety feature. You open the door, it stops. Now compare that to a massive industrial robotic welding cell. It uses an electromechanical interlock, known as the sequential method. If a factory worker opens the perimeter safety gate to step inside, the robotic arm instantly freezes. Obviously, the scale and the stakes are way higher in a factory setting, but that underlying Poka-Yoke logic of an immediate, unalterable safety cutoff, it's exactly the same. And it's the exact same story with software. We mentioned earlier how your email client scans your message for the word attached and forcefully stops you if you forgot the file. In the world of logistics, a massive warehouse management system does the exact same thing for shipping. Let's say a warehouse worker tries to print a final shipping label, but the system flab out blocks it because the package on the scale is 2% lighter than it's supposed to be. By putting an algorithmic barrier directly in the workflow, the system guarantees the wrong product never even leaves the building. But here's what you really need to take away from this. Poka-Yoke isn't just about saving companies money. It literally saves lives. Just look at healthcare. We have wheelchairs equipped with automatic, gravity-actuated brakes. The second a patient tries to stand up, the brakes engage, preventing a potentially devastating fall. Or think about unit dose blister packaging. It completely takes away the need for a nurse to manually measure out liquid medication, which passively prevents accidental overdoses. And hospitals even use electronic locks on blood bags now. They literally won't open unless a scanner perfectly matches the blood to the patient's QR wristband, totally eradicating deadly compatibility mix-ups. This is mistake-proofing at its absolute most critical. To build these bulletproof systems, quality engineers follow a specific hierarchy known as the 6 principles of error prevention. It starts with the absolute best-case scenario at the top, elimination, basically redesigning the product so you don't even have to do the risky task in the first place. If you can't eliminate it, you move to substitution, which usually means automating the task. Next down is prevention, like that cut corner on the SIM card that physically blocks you from making the error. Then there's facilitation, making the right choice super obvious with things like color coding. Towards the bottom, we have detection, which stops a machine right after an error starts. And finally, mitigation, the absolute last resort. Think of airbags in a car. They don't stop the crash, but they minimize the damage. Section 4. The future. Zero defects. Automation and Industry 5.0. We've seen the past with Shingo's simple plastic trays, and we know the present with digital software locks. But where is all this going? Mistake-proofing is evolving incredibly fast. Back in the 1960s, it was all about physical guides and mechanical hard stops. By the 1990s, things got smarter with optical sensors and logic controllers, machines that could actually see a problem and shut down the line. But looking at the 2020s and beyond, Poka-Yoke is shifting from being reactive to fully predictive. We're talking advanced IoT sensors, machine vision that can spot a millimeter-size defect, and AI digital twins that can actually anticipate a human failure before the worker even touches the product. And you might be wondering, why go through all this effort and push the tech so hard? Well, it comes down to one specific number, 3.4. In the world of industrial excellence, there's a famous methodology called Six Sigma. The absolute holy grail of Six Sigma is reducing process variability so much that you hit a standard of 3.4 defects per million opportunities. That is as close to perfect as it gets. Complex data can tell you where your errors are happening, for sure, but Poka-Yoke is the definitive tool that locks that metric in place. Once you implement a proper Poka-Yoke, that specific defect simply cannot happen again. So I want to leave you with this to chew on. As machine learning and AI deeply integrate with these mistake-proofing concepts, our entire world is silently being engineered to be fail-safe. Think about it. Every workflow, every piece of software, every machine is going to actively anticipate our slip-ups. Are we truly ready to live and work in a totally predictive world driven by AI and Poka-Yoke? It is a wildly fascinating frontier, and it's absolutely going to change what it means to just be a human making mistakes in the workplace. Well, I really hope you enjoyed learning about the invisible design systems that keep our modern world from falling apart. If you love discovering how the world works, make sure you hit that subscribe button for more visual explainers. We've got plenty more fascinating deep dives on the way. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time.